Question of the day: what is your favorite phase of any game? Now that could be a specific game and a phase from it, a la I really like Chocolate Factory. I think it's a very good game, and the moving down the conveyor belt's a good one. Is it my favorite? Maybe not. Maybe you're thinking of feeding or sheep, or in Hallertau it's the fallow fields thing. I like that. I think that's a really cool mechanic. What is your favorite phase in a game? Because one of the phases I think of when I think of the word phase is definitely Twilight Imperium's combat. And the way it works is you do a tactical action, you do your space combat first, you land ground forces, ground combat, then you take over the planet. What if I told you there was a game not based on Twilight Imperium, but with that concept in mind of you're doing space battles and then you're landing and doing regular battles, but at the end of the day it's a deck builder that doesn't really have a lot to do with combat, but is more about numerical deterministic combat versus rolling dice. That is Albedo. Let's take a look at this planet conquering game right now. So it is a deck builder. You're going to get this hand of cards. You're going to get 5 fighters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 infantry, and then 1 ace pilot. Now notice, as they're face up, basically with the image face up, the easiest way to see that is all the image and the wording is always face up. This tells you at the top what they can be used. If you use it this fitting, it's a spaceship. But if you were to retrofit this ace pilot, he can be a space or ground pilot, or ground attacker. Same thing here. Same thing here. 2 attack in space. If you retrofit it and change it, it becomes 1 and 1, which is pretty cool. Then you have infantry here. They are 0 in space and only 2 on the ground. Basically what's going to happen is you're going to plan your attacks out. There will be 2 planets revealed each time. Now, so you'll be conquering these planets that have different sub-locations on them. For instance, the location on the left, anybody can go to, multiple players can go to. The one up here, here, and here, only one player can go to. And the way those work is you spend your land combat points on these. So these would be 4 for the flag on the left, 2 for the flag on the right, and then if you had enough to do both, you would get 6. Now, this one's an easy one because it's victory points. Essentially, if you spend 4, you would flip the card here to remind you that it's only worth 4. If you've only spent 2, you flip it to remind you it's only worth 2. And if you were to conquer it for 6, you would show that you conquered it for 6, which is the only way to get that. So the only one person can collect victory points on it. This space down here is basically, you go here, but you're not collecting victory points. You're spending 4 to get this type of card. Here is you're spending 2, or 2, and you could spend and 2 actually, to collect those types of cards which are listed there, or a city, which means you'll take one of your workers and leave it there, but it's worth a point at the end of the game to show that they've been colonized. Essentially what's happening is you're going to play 6 cards out of your hand. You get 6 cards, so we'll shuffle that up and show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to use these, but the way you do it is first landing, second landing. So you have 1 planet, 2 planets. You mark which ones are going to the first planet by putting the 1 on top of them, because you're going to keep it hidden. And then wherever your 2 stops, that's where you're putting on your second planet. Now that was random, but let's just say I did this. I would put 1 and then 2. Now, once you're set, you're set. There's no changing. So let's see what I have. For my first landing, I have a airspeed of 1, or air combat value of 1, and a fighter combat value of 1. Now what this does is it allows you to pick where you go first. This is the first planet, this is the second planet. If you have no ground troops, you don't get to use anything there, but your air troops essentially choose player order for determining who gets to place where. So we would have no ground troops here. So let's just say we had a ground troop here. Let's say I had one of my well, I don't have any. So let's just say I had retrofitted this to be a ground trooper, and I had put it here. Well, I only have 1 ground point to spend. There's nothing I can use 1 for. So essentially, that's a bust. So this hand is kind of a bust, kind of a waste. If the planets are bought, great. They go, and then they'll refill. Basically, you're going to play until all the planets have been chosen, and when you see that last planet card, that's what the game end trigger is. You'll score points at the end of the game. The person with the most points wins. Ties are broken based on the albedo value, which is this number. Oh, it's on the planet, excuse me. The albedo value right there. It's based on that kind of stuff. So there's different cards that you can pick up, though, being that it is a deck builder. You get a destroyer card, which looks nice. I mean, look at these ships. The art on this in this game is really cool. And look, they're both very similar ships. The art's different, though. You see that. But the style is similar. I like how they did with that. And so the combat value is super big here, but you can flip it, and it still does some serious ground damage as well. So there's a lot of variety in these types of cards, what they offer to you and what they give you. So, I mean, obviously it looks like an X-Wing, which is pretty cool. There's just a lot of cool value in the different types of cards that you can get here from the different areas of reward. So obviously you're going to want to build your deck to get better cards so that you can get better planets and better spots and positions as you go further down. So there's, you know, infantry, better ships, better fighter ships, and then power armor is kind of a much stronger ground trooper. But and then there's a tank here as well. So you've got kind of these same types of things that do specialized areas. But that's essentially what you're playing in Albedo, is you're landing on these planets to take them over. The airspace determines ground landing. Ground landing determines what you're going to get, whether it be new cards or whether it be point values. So, end of the day, Albedo looks pretty good. Like, it is very pretty art. I think they did very nice on that sci-fi art. Is it thematic? Yes, as far as a deck builder goes. I like that you land on certain sites of a planet. I think that's a cool concept, right? As far as thematic deck building, you're landing on portions of the planet as opposed to the entire planet itself. However, if you land on the capital and you take control of the planet, well, you get all the points and prestige for it. Versus, maybe you land on the southern hemisphere and you take just the resources there. To me, that's very thematic. It really handles the idea of planet conquering really well, because it gets all those aspects and elements in there in a way that kind of honors the concept, but at the end of the day, it's still a deck builder choosing where you put it and which points you're going to take. What are you going to spend your points on? Are you going to buy kick cards? I always say that because of DC Deck Builder. Are you going to buy a kick, or are you going to buy Poison Ivy? At the end of the day, are you going to straight up pay for points, or are you going to pay for better cards to make it where you get more points later? So let's break this down. Art, Albedo is very good. I like the way the ships look. It's pretty, it's nice. I like the almost isometric look of some of the ships, as it's kind of it just looks good. The sci-fi art is great. I like the planet art. I'm a sucker for cosmic art. Is it the best? No, absolutely not. There are other games that do it better, but that's not a slight at this one. This one looks good. It's above average art. It's not an 8 out of 10 art, but it's not a 6 either. So it's somewhere in that 7, 7.5 range for art for what it is. Again, we're talking about a deck builder, so it doesn't just have random merchant going, right? It's a deck builder all about space and conquest. So to me, that's a plus as far as the way it looks. Now, the actual gameplay itself, I think I mentioned it earlier, I think the idea of choosing where you're going to land is cool. But what I really like is you choose where you're going to land based on how you do in space combat. So you have to think out those actions and go, wait a minute, here's the hand I'm dealt. Can I eke by on a worse ground combat hand and use this card in a different way, right? You have those options in your mind. You go, okay, what's more important? Is it more important that I get first choice, or is it more important that I get a choice? Is it more important that I get a reward, or is it more important that I get points this round? And you really have those to pick from, and you can divide those up between Planet 1 and Planet 2. So there's a lot more strategy here than it first looks to be that small of a box with just a certain amount of cards. But it really does a good job of what it's trying to do. You're conquesting, yes. You're gaining. It really is. Again, I don't know. I don't know the author's intent. I don't know any of that. But it really does feel like a deck builder that's like, hey, take the middle phase out of Twilight Imperium. Forget the map. Forget the dice, forget everything. Let's take the idea of landing on a planet, doing a space battle first, landing on a planet, taking the resources, whatever the planet has for us. I really think that's what it feels like, and they do a good job of translating that. So unofficially, Twilight Imperium Tactical Phase, the card game, but officially, Albedo is a pretty game. It does some interesting things with your choices and tactics, and it's got a lot of replay because it is a deck builder, and those naturally have a lot of replay involved anyway. So Albedo is a pretty interesting game. Is it the best deck builder of all time? No, but not by a long shot. Is it the worst? Heck no. So if you're looking for a quick deck builder, well, quick-ish deck builder, I should say, a quickish deck builder that doesn't take up a huge amount of space and is fairly easy to grasp, this one's one for you because it's very straightforward. There's not a lot of, if you have this, do this, and this combos with this and this and this. No, it's, hey, I have the power, I want to do this and this. It's pretty straightforward. So if you like combos, this is a pass for you. If you don't want to deal with someone taking a 6-hour turn of, well, I can play this, then I can draw 2 cards, or well, I can look up through my deck and grab this card. If I have this card, I can do it. None of that's here. And it's nice. It's a nice change. So That is Albedo. Check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. I love that new autofocus, by the way. Until next time.